Hello to everyone, I'm really happy to be here. I'm a third-year PhD candidate here in AMSE, so I will start by quickly introduce me what I have been done before joining the PhD. I did my bachelor in Argentina. There is a 5-year diploma, so when you finish your bachelor, it's like when you finish your master here, you can go directly to work, and that's what I did. I first worked in a research institute, so that was my first experience in research. And we were kind of consultants for the local government and some firms. So I really like that job. But unfortunately, it was not a really good pay. So when I graduate, I moved to the public sector. And in the meanwhile, I have applied for the Eiffel Scholarship. That is a French scholarship that allows you to do a master here. And that's how, to make it short, I ended up doing the Master 2 in policy analysis here in AMSE. At the time, we didn't have the research track. So now I think that's a really good thing, because you can have a better idea of what is research and what will you do in a PhD. So doing a PhD was not at all in my original plan. I was thinking I'll go for 2 years, I have an experience abroad, and then I go back home. So when I first started thinking about the idea was when they presented the PhD at AMSE. So that's why I also think that this kind of events is important, and you can ask any question, any doubt that you might have about it. And of course, what made me take the final decision was when I did the master dissertation instead of the internship, because I think that's what gives you really an idea of what is finding your topic, doing your research project, having your results, write it down, and then present it. So it's a small, it's a small idea of what you will be done in the PhD. Okay, so what is exactly a PhD? I mean, the definition of the PhD has basically 3 parts. The most important is that is research. I mean, as the goal is to ask new questions or to bring new answers to old questions. Of course, it's still the continuation of your studies, in the sense that it has a beginning and end. You will keep learning, you will keep attending some courses, not as much as in the master. You won't have complicated exams, but still you get a diploma at the end, and it's an educational program. And finally, it's a real job. I mean, if you stay in France, at least you will get a salary and you will have some constraints. So more specifically, what you are asked to do by the end of your PhD is to have 3 or 4 research papers that can be of a high quality, that you can publish in a good journal, at least the main one, that will be your job market paper, in 4 years. So officially the contracts are for 3 years, but the average time is 4 years. You also don't want to make it longer. So 4 years, I think, is the perfect amount of time. And of course, the other goal is to become highly educated in economics. But as you can see, you don't have a lot of few short-term constraints, I mean. And it's like this in any, I think, creative process. You do have a second-year defense in the middle of your PhD, by the end of your second year, where you get some feedback by external professors, and when you explain what you have been done, and you have an external feedback. So one of the great things in economics is that you can. There are a lot of topics. I mean, it can go from the basic macroeconomics fluctuations, microeconomics, international economics, to economics of happiness, economics of crime, of religion. Now I saw an offer for a postdoc about economics of vaccination, analyzing when would the people accept to get vaccinated and when they not. And that was really surprising for me, because I thought that academic research was boring or classic, only the things that we read in economic books, or only the courses that we have in the first years of bachelor. And actually, no, it can really be about anything. So it doesn't have to be theoretical, it can be empirical. Also, if you don't want to make it purely academic, you can have, if you stay in France again, a CIFRE, that is a scholarship where you do your thesis in partnership with another firm or an organization. So it gives you kind of half academic and half private or organization atmosphere. And to explain quickly what I do, so I work in a research field that's political economy. So I work on the impact of politicians' identity and their characteristics on economic and social outcomes. So basically, I'm interested in measuring their qualities, in asking whether there are some observable characteristics, their career they do, the level of education that they have, in shaping the policy decisions that they take. I'm also interested in whether some electoral rules like campaign financing will change the type of candidate that decide to run for office, whether there are differences between women and men, why some people do vote for politicians that have a lot of charges of corruption. And I mean, of course, I decided this topic when I was doing my master dissertation after discussing with a professor that's now my advisor and reading a lot. And I become really fascinated by that topic because I could relate a lot with my country, where we have a lot of economic crisis, and a lot of that I think is fault of because we have bad politicians. So I get really inspired and fascinated by those questions, because those were questions that were permanently alive in our conversations in the daily life there in Argentina. So yeah, that's basically what in the topics that I'm working. So how is the daily life? So basically we come to office almost every day when there is no lockdown, of course. Well, now you can see my office, but there is no one else, don't worry. There is also, we spend a lot of time reading what others have done, because of course, if you want to ask new questions or to bring new answers, well, you have to know where is the literature, where you can contribute it. And once you detect it, you have a question in mind that you would like to answer, you have to do a research project. Which data are you going to use? Whether it's already available in the web, or whether you will have to do surveys, you will have to do a field experiment. Also, which economic method is appropriate for your questions, which are the limits, or if you are doing theory, what kind of model are you planning to use? And once you have this research project that you implement, well, you will have your results, and then it will be time to have your graph to write down in a paper format. That is also something that you learn with the time, because it's a really specific kind of writing. You also present your works at conference, in seminars, here, in other universities, in other countries, and so on. But of course, this is not at all a linear process. I mean, for instance, you will have your results, you will present it, you will receive feedback. So you will have to change the method or your data, and then you will have to rewrite again. And then if you try to submit, of course, you will get some feedback about the editor. So you will need to make change and rewrite again. So as I say, you need 3 papers in 4 years. So that means that it takes a long time to have a published and finished paper. But it passes really fast, and it's really a fun process. And the last point, as I say, is also an educational program, meaning that you also attend courses, presentations by other PhDs, by other seniors. And you also can teach. It's not mandatory, but I think it's great. And if you have the chances to do it during your PhD, I would advise to do it. First, if you are planning to continue in academia, at some point, it's part also of the researcher job to teach. Then you also learn a lot of things. You learn to express yourself. You relearn the basics of economics. And yes, I think it has a lot of advantage. And if you can, you should do it. Okay, so the last part of the talk is the pros and cons of doing a PhD. First thing, the bad side or the more difficult side. The first hardest thing for me was to take the decision to engage in a PhD, because it's not like every job where you say, okay, I will try, and if I don't like it, I drop it. It takes a lot of time to apply for the PhD, and it also involves your time, your advisor time, the public money. So it's really a decision that you have to think it well. And as I was saying, now you have a research track in the master, so maybe it will make things easier. You will have a better idea. If not, also for the youngest one, the ones that are still in licence, you can use your internship. You can work as do your internship as a research assistant to explore whether you would or you would not like it. I mean, as in every job, it's not fit for everyone. It requires a lot of auto-discipline. I mean, you have an advisor that is there to help you, but you don't have a daily boss that will say what you are going to do each day, which task do you have to do to accomplish your goals. In all the process that I say that you need to make a paper, a lot of things can go wrong. Sometimes you start working in a project for weeks, for months, and then you have to drop it, either because you find out that other guy has done it before, or because it's not working, you don't have interesting results, or your methodologies, your data, it's just not working. Sometimes you spend you already have your paper and you present and you receive hard feedbacks, and it also frustrated because at the beginning you take everything personal, then you learn to interiorize critics. And also, if you decide to stay in academia, you start to figuring out that it's a really competitive world if you want to publish in a good journal, if you're going to get a good job afterwards. But anyways, the good part is that you have a lot of freedom in the content of your thesis, and also in your time management. As I say, is the other side of that auto-discipline one. And it's a really exciting process, the fact of discovering new things, of testing your own hypotheses, your own intuitions, and at the end, the goal is to contribute to science and to society. So that's really rewarding, even though, of course, the big contributions are rare. We are not winning a Nobel Prize in our PhDs, but still, you make small contributions, and that's a really, really good feeling. And there is a lot of solidarity. I mean, if it can feel like it's a really lonely process, but if you ask for help, you will find it among other PhDs, with your advisors, with professors of others university, etc. And you ended up doing your PhD here at AMSE. Well, it has also more advantages. I mean, you should consider others university in France, abroad. But some of the good things of AMSE, first, is that it's a really well-ranked institution. It's a really friendly environment that you won't find it in any department. I mean, we have a great atmosphere between PhD. Professors are really available, so if you need help, you can knock their door and they will make time for you. We also have specific courses that are organized for us. And other things that you won't find in a lot of universities is that we have a lot of funding available to attending conference in France, abroad. We are also funded to do a research stay in a foreign university. That's all also funded by the AMSE. I was supposed to go to Berkeley, for instance, before the COVID, but you also can attend summer school and so on. Only say you that if you don't discard research too early in your education, if you think that is something that you may like it, just try it with your internship, with your master's dissertation, and so on. Of course, some of you won't like it, but don't discard it too fast. And there are a lot of topics, and you can easily find a field that inspire you, and that's the key of enjoying, I think, your PhD. And you are not forced to stay in academia afterwards. After you do a PhD, you can go to the private sector, to the public one, to an international organization, and so on.